The morning sun rose over New Bizon colony. It was a beautiful day on the planet called HFY. The sky was purple and orange, and two small moons still hung in the early light. Children walked to school with their parents. Farmers checked their crops. It was a peaceful morning, like every other morning for the past 80 years. Yuna was 7 years old. She held her father's hand as they walked down the dirt road toward the big white building. This was the Children's Center, where 2,000 kids learned and played together. Yuna loved school. She loved her teacher Jian, who always smiled and told funny stories. "Are you excited for today?" her father Do-hyun asked. Yuna nodded so hard her black hair bounced. "We practiced the song all week, father. We want to show the Dominion visitors that humans are friendly." Do-hyun smiled, but something in his eyes looked worried. He was the colony administrator. He knew things that children did not know. He knew that the Dominion Empire did not think much of humans. To them, humans were small and weak, useful for simple work, nothing more. But Do-hyun believed that things could change. If the children showed kindness, maybe the Dominion would see that humans were good. Maybe they would treat humans better. "Sing beautifully today," Do-hyun said. He kissed his daughter's forehead. "I will come watch later." Yuna ran inside. Do-hyun watched her go. He did not know that he would never see her alive again. Inside the Children's Center, Jiyoung gathered all 2,000 children in the main hall. She was a young woman with a gentle voice. She had spent 6 months teaching the children a welcome song in the Dominion language. It was very hard to learn. The sounds were strange to human mouths. But the children practiced every day. "Remember," Jian said, "we sing with our hearts. We want our guests to feel welcome. We want them to know that humans want to be friends." The children nodded. Some of the younger ones giggled. A boy named Ji-hoon raised his hand. "Teacher, do you think they will like our song?" Jian smiled. "I think they will love it. How could anyone not love 2,000 children singing for peace?" She did not know that far above the planet, ships were coming. Not visitors, not friends. Emperor Valros sat on his throne aboard the flagship of his fleet. He was ancient. He had ruled the Dominion for 3,000 years. His body was more machine than flesh now, kept alive by technology that humans could not understand. He had seen 1,000,000 worlds. He had crushed 10,000 rebellions. He felt nothing anymore. A small screen showed him the planet below. HFY, a human farming colony. 15,000 people living in peace. "The humans of Earth refused our new trade terms," his advisor said. "They asked for negotiation. They used the word fair. They do not understand their place." Valros did not move. His ancient eyes stared at nothing. "We must remind them," the advisor continued. "A demonstration. Something they will remember." "The Children's Center," Valros said. His voice was like dry leaves. "Target it first, then the rest." The advisor bowed. "A wise choice, Emperor. The message will be clear." Valros felt nothing. He had done this before. He would do it again. Humans were insects. Their pain meant nothing to him. On the planet below, Jian started the music. 2,000 voices rose together. The song was simple but beautiful. Athimu. It spoke of peace and friendship. It welcomed strangers to become family. Yuna sang as loud as she could. She imagined the Dominion visitors smiling. She imagined them clapping. She imagined them telling the Emperor the humans were good people. Jian looked at the children and felt so proud. She took out her communicator and started recording. She wanted to send this to the colony network. She wanted everyone to see how wonderful these children were. The first explosion hit the east wing. The ground shook. Children screamed. Jian grabbed as many small hands as she could. The ceiling cracked. Fire bloomed in the distance. "Everyone stay calm," Jian shouted. But her voice was lost in the noise. More explosions. One after another. The Dominion ships above fired without stopping. They were not aiming at military targets. There were no military targets. They were aiming at children.GY. EON knew they would all die. She had seconds left. With shaking hands, she pointed her communicator at the children who still stood, still confused, still holding each other. "They were learning to greet you," she said into the recording. "They wanted to be your friends." She pressed send. Then the fire took everything. Doyun saw the explosion from his office window. He ran toward the children's center. He ran until soldiers stopped him. He fought them. He screamed his daughter's name. But there was nothing left. Just smoke and ash and silence. 2,000 children died in 4 minutes. The galaxy watched. News spread across 1,000,000 worlds. Emperor Valros expected humanity to kneel. He expected them to beg for mercy. He expected fear. He did not expect what came next. 3 days passed. The smoke on Haniel 3 finally stopped rising. Parents buried what little remained of their children. The colony was silent, but the rest of humanity was not. On the Dominion throne world of Ethon Prime, Emperor Valros waited. He sat on his great throne in a hall the size of a mountain. 1,000 advisors and nobles filled the room. They all waited for the human response. Valros expected crying, begging, promises to obey forever. This is what happened when he punished lesser species. They always broke. They always knelt. The doors opened. 2 humans walked in. The first was an old man named Taiwu. He was 63 years old with gray hair and a calm face. He was the human ambassador to the Dominion. For 20 years, he had smiled and bowed and accepted every insult. He had played the role of the weak human, the harmless human. The human not worth noticing. Behind him walked a young woman named Suman. She was his aide. Her eyes were red. She had been crying for 3 days. Her cousin's daughter had died in the children's center. A little girl named Yuna. They walked slowly across the great hall. Every step echoed. 1,000 alien eyes watched them. Some of the nobles laughed quietly. 2 small humans. So weak. So pathetic. Taiwu stopped before the throne. He did not bow. The nobles gasped. Every species bowed to the emperor. Every species for 3,000 years. But this old human just stood there with his hands at his sides. Valros leaned forward. His mechanical eyes focused on the human's face. He saw no fear there. He saw nothing at all. "You may speak," Valros said. His voice filled the hall. Taiwu nodded slowly. "Emperor Valros, I bring a message from humanity. An apology?" One of the nobles called out. Laughter followed. Taiwu did not react. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small device. It was a simple projector. Before the attack, Taiwu said, "A teacher named Jian sent one final recording. I asked that you watch it." Valros waved his hand. He was curious. He wanted to see humans suffering. He wanted to see their pain. The projector lit up. A hologram appeared in the center of the hall. It was the size of a house, so everyone could see. 2,000 children appeared. They stood in neat rows in a bright white hall. They wore clean clothes. Their faces were so young, so innocent. Some were barely old enough to stand. Music began to play. The children started to sing. The song was in the Dominion language. The words were simple. "Welcome, friends. We greet you with peace. We greet you with love. Our hands are open. Our hearts are open. Let us build tomorrow together." The children's pronunciation was not perfect. Some of the younger ones forgot words and just hummed. But they sang with everything they had. Their small voices filled the great hall of the Dominion Emperor. Suman closed her eyes. Tears ran down her face. She saw her cousin's daughter in the front row. Little Yuna, singing, smiling, waving. The nobles had stopped laughing. The hall was completely silent. On the hologram, the children finished their song. They bowed together, just like Gion had taught them. Then they started waving and calling out greetings they had memorized. "Welcome to our home. We hope you like it here. Will you be our friends?" Then Jian's voice came through. It was shaking. The explosions had already started. But she held the camera steady. "They were learning to greet you," she said. "They wanted to be your friends." The hologram ended. Silence filled the hall. Not even the nobles breathed. Taiwu looked at the emperor. Valra sat completely still. His ancient face showed nothing. "You killed 2,000 children," Taiwu said. His voice was steady. "Children who spent 6 months learning your language. Children who wanted to welcome you. Children who believed that if they showed kindness, you would show kindness back." He paused. "They were wrong." Taiwu put the projector back in his coat. "Humanity has no more words for you," he said. "Only action." He turned and walked away. Suman followed. Neither of them bowed. Neither of them looked back. The nobles began to murmur. Some were angry at the disrespect. Some were disturbed by what they had seen. A few, very quietly, felt something strange in their hearts. Something like shame. But Velros laughed odd. It was a dry, hollow sound. Like wind through dead trees. "Broadcast that recording," he commanded. "Send it to every world in the Dominion. Let everyone see how weak humans are. Let everyone see their pathetic attempt at friendship." His advisors obeyed. Within hours, the video spread across 40,000 worlds. The Emperor thought it would show human weakness. He thought other species would laugh at the dead children and their foolish song. He was wrong. The video did not show weakness. It showed something else entirely. It showed 2,000 innocent children trying to build peace. And it showed an empire that burned them for it. Across the galaxy, something began to change. Species that had been conquered by the Dominion watched the video in secret. They did not laugh. They remembered their own children. They remembered their own dreams of peace, crushed by the Emperor long ago. And on Earth, every human watched the video. Parents held their children close. Soldiers stood at attention. Old enemies forgot their arguments. Nobody cried anymore. The time for tears was over. Humanity began to prepare. The weeks after the massacre were quiet. Too quiet. The Dominion waited for humanity to collapse into grief and surrender. Instead, something strange happened. Humans stopped fighting each other. For 300 years, human nations had argued. They fought over resources, politics, and old wounds that never healed. The Dominion had counted on this. Divided humans were weak humans. Easy to control. But the video of the children changed everything. On Earth, presidents and prime ministers met in secret. For the first time in history, every human government agreed on the same thing. No votes were needed. No debates. They all watched the video together. They all saw Yuna's face. They all heard the children singing, and they all said the same words. Never again. Yunji was an engineer on Earth. She designed bridges and buildings. She was good at her job. She had a comfortable life. She had plans for the future. Her nephew had died in the children's center. He was 5 years old. His name was Dong-un. He loved dinosaurs and always asked Yunji to build him toy castles. The morning after she saw the video, Yunji quit her job. She walked to the nearest military facility and told them she wanted to help. She could design weapons. She could build ships. She could do anything they needed. "I don't want money," she said. "I just want to work." The officer looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "You're the 400th person today," he said. "Welcome to the project." Across human space, the same scene repeated. Farmers left their fields. Teachers left their schools. Scientists left their comfortable laboratories. They all reported for duty, not because anyone forced them, because they could not sit still anymore. Minho was a simple farmer on a distant colony. He grew rice and vegetables. He had never held a weapon in his life. He was 50 years old with a bad knee. The day after the video, he stood in line at the enlistment center. The young officer looked at him with concern. "Sir, with respect, you're a bit old for combat." Minho smiled. It was not a happy smile. "I can cook. I can carry supplies. I can dig trenches. I can do something. Put me where you need me." The officer did not argue. There was something in Minho's eyes. Something in everyone's eyes now. A cold, patient fire. Admiral Hyun-soo stood before a massive screen in a secret facility buried deep under the ocean. On the screen was a map of human military assets. Before the massacre, it showed a small defense force, enough to protect trade routes. Nothing more. But Hyun-soo pressed a button, and the map changed. Hidden shipyards appeared. Dozens of them, scattered across human space. Some had been building ships for 50 years, waiting for a day that many hoped would never come. Research facilities lit up. Weapon projects that governments had kept secret from each other were now shared freely. Human scientists were working together for the first time in history. "We always knew this day might come," Hyun-soo said to his staff. "We just didn't know what would trigger it." He looked at the video playing on a small screen nearby. The children's faces. Their innocent smiles. "Now we know." A young officer raised her hand. "Admiral, even with everything we have, the Dominion fleet is still larger. Their technology is more advanced. How do we win?" Hyun-soo turned to face her. "We don't try to match them. We don't play their game. We play ours." He pulled up a new display. It showed not military targets, but supply lines, communication networks, industrial centers. "The Dominion is big," Hyun-soo said. "That is their weakness. They need fuel, food, and parts from 1,000 worlds. Cut those lines, and their fleet becomes useless. Destroy their shipyards, and they cannot rebuild. Free their slaves, and they lose their workers." He smiled. It was a dangerous smile. "We will not fight a war. We will end an empire." The Dominion intelligence officers were confused. Their reports made no sense. Humans should have been surrendering. They should have been sending diplomats to beg for mercy. That was what every other species did. That was the pattern. But humans were doing the opposite. Their economy was shifting entirely to war production. Factories that made toys now made weapons. Ships that carried food now carried soldiers. Every human world was transforming. "This is irrational," one intelligence officer reported to his superiors. "They cannot win. Our fleet is 100 times larger. They are throwing their lives away." But another officer, older and wiser, read the reports differently. "They are not trying to win," he said quietly. "They are willing to die. All of them. Every single one. They will not stop until we are destroyed or they are gone." The superior laughed. "Then they will be gone. Simple." But the old officer did not laugh. He remembered something from his studies. A human concept from their ancient history. They called it total war. It meant a conflict where everyone fought, where nothing was held back, where victory was not just desired but required at any cost. Humans had done this before. To each other. The results were terrifying. Now they were going to do it to the Dominion. On Annual 3, workers began building a memorial at the site of the Children's Center. In the center stood a statue of a little girl with her arms open wide. Beneath it, they carved words that became humanity's promise. We remember their song. 8 months after the massacre, the first human fleet appeared at the Dominion border. Dominion scouts counted the ships and reported to their commanders. The commanders laughed. 300 ships? One admiral said. We have 3,000 in this sector alone. This will be over in hours. He ordered his fleet to attack. They moved in perfect formation, just like they had done 1,000 times before. They expected the humans to break and run. The humans did not run. Admiral Hyunsu watched from his command ship as the Dominion fleet approached. His face was calm. Wait, he said. His officers trusted him. They waited. The Dominion fleet came closer. Their weapons locked onto the human ships. They prepared to fire. Now, Hyunsu said, the human fleet suddenly scattered in every direction, not retreating, splitting apart like seeds in the wind. The Dominion formation tried to follow, but they could not chase 300 ships, going 300 different ways. And while the Dominion fleet was confused, something else happened. 500 more human ships appeared behind them. They had been hiding near a gas giant, invisible to sensors. They hit the Dominion supply ships, the fuel carriers, the ammunition transports. In 10 minutes, the Dominion combat fleet lost everything they needed to fight a long battle. The Dominion admiral screamed orders. But his fleet was now trapped between two forces with no supplies. The humans did not try to destroy them. They did not need to. They simply left, vanished back into space. 3 days later, the Dominion fleet limped home. They had lost no ships in battle, but they had lost the battle entirely. This was how humans fought. Hana was 24 years old. She was a fighter pilot, one of the best in the human fleet. Her father was Do-yoon, the colony administrator who had survived the massacre. Her little sister had not survived. Every day, Hana looked at a photograph of Yuna. Every day, she remembered the sound of her sister's laugh. She did not fight for revenge. She fought so that no other big sister would ever feel what she felt. Her squadron was assigned a suicide mission. A massive Dominion communication hub controlled information across 30 systems. Destroying it would blind the enemy for months. But the hub was heavily defended. 70% chance of death, the briefing officer said. Volunteers only. Every pilot in the room raised their hand. They attacked at dawn. Dominion defenses filled the sky with fire. Ships exploded around Hana. Friends she had trained with disappeared in flashes of light. But Hana flew through it all. Her hands were steady. Her mind was clear. She released her weapons at the perfect moment. The hub exploded in a ball of white fire. The mission was complete. Hana's ship was damaged. She should have died. But somehow, she made it back. When she landed, her hands were shaking for the first time. A mechanic found a piece of debris stuck in her hull. 1 inch closer, and it would have killed her. Lucky, he said. Hana shook her head. Yuna is watching over me. On the ground, Commander Seo-jun led a different kind of war. He did not conquer Dominion worlds. He freed them. The Dominion Empire was built on slavery. 100 species worked in mines and factories, treated worse than animals. They had no hope. They had accepted their fate. Seo-jun gave them hope. His ground forces landed on industrial worlds in the middle of the night. They found the slave quarters and broke the locks. They gave the workers weapons, food, and a choice. You can stay and fight, Seo-jun told them. Or you can hide until we win. Either way, you are no longer slaves. Most chose to fight. Within weeks, rebellions broke out across Dominion space. Not human rebellions. Slave rebellions. Species that had been conquered centuries ago suddenly remembered that they had once been free. The Dominion had to pull ships from the front lines to deal with problems at home. Their empire was burning from the inside. Emperor Varus could not understand what was happening. His advisors brought him reports every day. 12 worlds lost, then 20, then 50. Supply lines cut, factories destroyed, slaves rising up. The humans are not conquering our territory, one advisor explained. They strike cause chaos and leave. They are not building an empire. They are destroying ours. Valros sat in silence. For the first time in 3,000 years, he felt something strange, something cold in his chest. Destroy them, he ordered. Send everything. Every ship. Every soldier. Crush them completely. His advisor hesitated. Emperor, if we send everything to fight the humans, who will control the rebellions? I do not care about rebellions. Valros screamed. It was the first time anyone had heard him raise his voice. I want the humans dead. All of them. Every single one. The advisor bowed and left, but it was too late. The war had already turned. Not because humans were stronger, but because they had shown the galaxy something important. The Emperor could be hurt. The Dominion could bleed. And when an empire built on fear starts to bleed, everyone it ever hurt comes looking for payback. Across human space, soldiers wore patches on their uniforms. Each patch carried a name. 2,000 names. The children of New Busan. Before every battle, they read the names aloud. We remember their song, they said. And then they fought. 14 months after the massacre, the human fleet arrived at Ethon Prime. The Dominion throne world was the most protected place in the galaxy. 300 defense stations orbited it. Thousands of warships guarded every approach. It had never been attacked. Most species could not even imagine trying. Admiral Hyunsu looked at the planet on his screen. The seat of the empire that had killed 2,000 children because it wanted to send a message. All ships, he said calmly, take your positions. The human fleet spread out. But they were not alone anymore. Ships from a dozen species flew alongside them. Slaves who had been freed. Rebels who had found courage. An alliance built not on politics, but on shared suffering. The battle lasted 6 hours. Dominion stations fell one by one. Their warships fought hard, but their crews knew the truth. The empire was finished. Some surrendered. Some ran. Some fought to the death. When the smoke cleared, the human fleet surrounded the throne world. No one could enter or leave. Admiral Hyunsu opened a communication channel to the planet below. Emperor Valros, he said. This is Admiral Hyunsu of the United Human Fleet. We are prepared to begin orbital bombardment. But first, I offer you terms. There was a long silence. Then the Emperor's voice came through. It sounded old, tired. Speak. You will abdicate your throne. The Dominion military will be dissolved. All enslaved species will be freed immediately. Reparations will be paid to every world your empire has harmed. Another silence. Hyunsu continued. And one more thing. You will watch a video. Every day. For the rest of your life. What video? You know which one. The Emperor did not respond for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Smaller. If I refuse? Hyunsu's face did not change. Then we begin bombardment. Your species will survive. We are not like you. We do not kill children. But your cities will fall. Your legacy will be ash. And you will still watch that video in whatever prison we build for you. The Emperor was quiet for a very long time. Across the fleet, humans waited. Soldiers sat in their bunks, looking at the patches with children's names. Pilots floated in their cockpits. Engineers stood by their stations. No one celebrated. Victory was coming, but there was no joy in it. This war had been fought for dead children. Nothing could bring them back. Finally, the emperor spoke. "I accept your terms." A wave of relief passed through the fleet. But no one cheered. The emperor's voice came again. It sounded confused, maybe even afraid. "I do not understand you humans. You won. You could destroy my entire bloodline. You could wipe my species from existence. I would have done that to you. Why do you show mercy?" Admiral Hyunsu looked at the photograph he kept near his command chair. It was a copy of the video's final frame. 2,000 children, smiling and waving. "Because our children would have wanted us to be better than you," he said. "They were learning to greet you, remember? They wanted to be your friends." The channel closed. The war was over. 3 days later, Do-hyun returned to Hanyul 3. He was not an administrator anymore. He was just a soldier. Just a father who had lost his daughter. He had fought for 14 months. He had watched friends die. He had killed enemies. He did not hate. Now, he stood where the children's center had once been. It was a memorial garden now. Grass and flowers grew where the building had stood. A white stone path led to the center, where a statue of a little girl stood with her arms open wide. It was Yuna. The sculptors had worked from photographs. They had captured her smile perfectly. Do-hyun walked to the statue and knelt before it. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. The same device that Jiyeon had used to send her final message. He pressed play. The children's voices filled the garden. The welcome song. The song they had practiced for months. The song they never got to perform for their guests. Do-hyun closed his eyes and listened. He remembered Yuna's excitement that morning. He remembered her hand in his as they walked. He remembered her voice, asking if the visitors would like their song. Tears fell down his face. But he did not look away from the statue. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you," he whispered. "But I promise you this. Humanity will never forget what you tried to do. You wanted to build a bridge. You wanted to make peace. And even though they destroyed you, your message survived." He stood up slowly. His knees hurt. He was older now. "We will keep trying," he said. "We will keep reaching out. We will keep teaching our children to greet strangers with kindness. Because that is what you would have wanted." The song ended. The garden was quiet. Do-hyun placed his hand on the statue's stone cheek. "Sleep well, my daughter. Daddy loves you." He walked away. Behind him, the statue of Yuna stood with her arms open wide, forever welcoming visitors who would never come. But her message had reached the galaxy. Years passed. The Dominion Empire became a memory. Freed species built new nations. Old wounds began to heal. And in every human school, children still learned to greet strangers with kindness. They learned songs of welcome and peace. Teachers told them about the children of New Bizon, who believed that friendship could defeat hatred. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still conflicts, still problems, still pain. But something had changed. When species met now, they remembered the video. They remembered what cruelty had cost the emperor. They remembered what kindness had meant to 2,000 children, and they tried a little harder to be friends. This was the true victory, not war, not revenge. Just a simple message sent by a dying teacher about children who wanted to welcome the universe. The universe finally listened.